I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting of Libertarian Party of Pinellas County to order. 7:08 is the time for you, Nate. The first item on the agenda is to confirm that we have quorum. I see 5. I'm not sure about Randall, but I see 5. Do you count the same, Nate?
Did it again. Yes, I count.
I figured the ask to unmute prompt would do it. All right. We're going to go ahead and open things up for member comment. If there's any member of LPF that would like to address the body, this is your first of 2 opportunities in this meeting to do so. Hearing none, we will move on to Nate to give us our prior meeting minutes.
I will screen share.
Was there anybody that had any issues with the minutes that were presented in the email that went out on the 9th? I didn't see any myself, no glaring issues.
Can you make me host so I can screen share?
Absolutely. There you go, sir. You got it.
Okay, sharing my entire desktop. Here is this week's meeting. Here are prior minutes. So this meeting was on March 18th, 2021, 7 p.m. Eastern. Call to order 7:08 p.m., 8 minutes late. Quorum was confirmed. No first round member comment. Prior minutes were approved. Officer reports affiliate info was updated on lpf.org. Re-registration work with the county, the state, and the state party. That has now all been done. We are affiliated for the year. For our vice chair, recurring donors have been thanked for last month. And then also we've started talking with the Ladies of Liberty Alliance. Social media over the past 20 days. Last month, doing good. These statistics are there. Our Slack, you should join our Slack because that is our method of staying transparent with everybody who's not in a leadership position. The link is on the prior minutes. The link will also be on this minutes. And then we switched from PayPal to a different payment processor, which gives us more money. It's like taxes, but a little bit different.
Well, Camila's going to have plenty to talk about with that.
Yeah, that'll be fun for later. We re-affiliated as a party. We had a very nice coffee talk with former LNC Chair Nick Sarwark on the 10th. The video is on YouTube. I highly recommend it. Go watch it. Monthly yoga is starting on May 2nd at noon.
Hey, look.
Where?
It's going to be virtual. We've got until we have a time where we can meet a little more regularly. We're not doing anything in person, although Camilo has a couple of things that he's got in the works upcoming.
Yep. State convention is June 11 to 13th. If you can go, I highly recommend it. Make sure you are not just registered LPF, but you are a member of LPF. That requires you to fill out a form on their website, though it might actually be too late now because
it is.
days.
Had to be 60 days prior.
Yeah, 6 days prior. That was the 12th, I think. But if you are a member, you can go. You can be a voting delegate. I highly recommend. I will be there. It is in Lakeland, which is about an hour and a half away, at the Spring Hill Suites.
Mhm.
And all of our meetings are public on YouTube. And then we adjourned at 7:42.
All right. I will entertain a motion to approve the prior meeting minutes.
A motion to approve.
And a second. Mr. Colligan for a second. I don't think there's going to be any opposition, so we want to just pass by acclamation. Any objection?
No.
All right, pass by acclamation. All right, officer reports. Well, Nate stole all my thunder. The first one there is that we, at the direction at the last monthly meeting, we voted to empower the officers to re-affiliate with LPF. That is done. We are officially re-affiliated. Since then, we have also had our first financial filing of the term with the county. That was a blast, let me tell you. I only had the opportunity to be the sounding board for our treasurer as he performed the duties necessary. And wow, it is a mess. It's a lot of data entry. If anybody ever wants to know why libertarians don't want to fill out the forms, you should go through a financial filing one time, just once, and you will understand. And ours are not nearly as complex as some of the other filings that I saw. I did check out both of the other local political party filings, and we got off easy, but it was not easy. I have been introduced to a candidate who is wanting to run for Congress in 2022 for the seat currently held by Charlie Crist. We have not gotten anywhere other than introductions just yet, but I have referred him to the candidate committee for LPF and provided him with the ridiculous barriers to entry for any candidate seeking a nomination.
What are they? I'm just curious.
For Congress?
I'm just curious, like, what are the barriers to actually to do this?
So the first thing is you can pay a filing fee, which is 3% of the annual salary. Then there's a party fee, and then there's another fee. It totals 6% of the annual salary, which comes out to be about $10,000 for Congress. The other thing that you can do if you do not want to write a check for 10 grand is that you can circulate petitions. The petition requirement, based on my experience in collecting petitions, would cost you about $20,000 at $2 a signature, approximately. And those are not very high authentication. And you're not, I mean, it's probably going to get you about 60 to 70% verified, legitimate voters in the district. But by my calculations, it would cost about $20,000 to run for that seat if you paid for the signatures. Of course, there's always the possibility of having volunteers collect them for you. But in my experience, that is not something that's particularly easy to do. I have done it. I have been close, but I have never been a part of a campaign that has successfully petitioned to appear on the ballot. As I noted, I have been working with Camilo on a lot of the administrative tasks that we have. And this one was a particularly heavy one with reaffiliation, with the audit that's necessary each year for the county elections board for us to meet state law with how we audit our financials. We also, again, had that first financial filing of the term. So that was quite a bit of paperwork, administrative tasks, and that's primarily been the focus that I've had outside of our public meetings. As of 3/10/21, which is the last time I got one of these, We had 2,896 registered voters that chose LPF as their party designation. I just ran that today. However, the disc is over a month old. I should be getting the newest one any day now. Because I knew that Jasmine was going to ask, I have not yet been able to meet up with Mark to secure the float. I will turn it over to Ms. Herrera for the vice chair's report.
All right, so for my vice chair report, it's going to be pretty short. I'm still deployed until the end of June, so there hasn't been much that I've been able to do the last month. What I've accomplished was I thanked the recurring donors last month, so I was able to get all those emails out. Granted, a couple days late on some of them, but I got them all accomplished. And then I also actually ordered some of the LP literature and swag off of the big website. So I ordered a couple in bulk. I'm gonna try to see what's a hit out there, or at least out here. Test it on my buddies and some of the people I've gotten to know out there, and kind of see what works. And then if I see anything like significant, I'll report my findings. Hopefully, next meeting based off of like kind of the feedback and reactions I get. If anybody has any questions, that's all I have for my report. All right, I'll turn it over.
Mr. Stevens.
Okay. So all I really have for this month is our social media report for a 28-day period. That's March 18 to April 14. We had 926 people reached, down 64%, 364 post engagements, down 37%, and 23 new page likes, up 92%. Also, I highly endorse everyone to join the Slack. The link will be on the minutes. Questions?
Sorry, Mr. Stevens, on the agenda that was presented, there is a bit.ly link that might make it a little bit easier so they don't have to remember all that Libertarian Party -PA blah, 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 blah. If you want to put that in the chat and include it in the minutes.
That is in chat. That is our Slack link. That is our vehicle for staying transparent.
We have actually been pretty active within it. I just heard from Mr. Kalina. He said he's sorry he got caught up at work. So I imagine we will not be having a treasurer's report today. So we will get the pleasure of having 2 of those next month. Seeing as he is not here for item number 6, I'll go ahead and share what I know. We are still awaiting a letter to meet state law to be able to use the name Libertarian Party of Pinellas County, but specifically Libertarian Party. We have to have a letter from the state chairman that authorizes us to do so. That has been something that I have been pursuing. It's one of the many administrative things that I have been pursuing. Unfortunately, it is something that has not been very quick to do. Once we have that done, we will be able to file our fictitious name filing with Sunbiz, which will then allow us to apply for an EIN, which will then allow for us to do a lot of the things that we are doing to switch payment processors. That was the impetus, that was the catalyst that got us to the point where we figured out that we had to fix some things. We are in the process of fixing those things to make sure that we appear to be legit in the eyes of the omnipotent state. And we are still working toward that. And we will have that hopefully done fairly soon. I did see, going on to item number 7 for the agenda, I did see that they have finally announced the events for St. Pete Pride this June. It happened earlier this week. I wasn't sure if I was going to get it on the agenda, or actually it was last week. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get it on the agenda, but I did get a breakdown of the events. It appears as though there will not be a parade this year. There will not be a festival as it has been in the past. And instead, what they are doing is they are doing 4 themed week-long celebrations that culminate with events, signature events on the Saturdays of those weeks, those being June the 5th, June the 12th, June the 19th, and June the 26th. They are, let's see, Pride Outside, which is celebrating the outdoors here in Pinellas County, is June the 5th. A family-themed event day called We Are Family is June the 12th. Arts and Culture, which is a whole bunch of music and art that's taking place that are being displayed and are being performed on the 19th, and a picnic that is culminating the Taste of Pride Week on the 26th. It appears as though the ones that are most resembling the traditional Pride festivals, as I understand it, are the We Are Family event, which is going to be at Straub Park, where the Joe Jorgensen event took place in October. That's on the 12th, and the Pride Picnic on the 26th. I did notice that they are not doing day of ticket sales, so I imagine that this is a limited event in terms of the number of people, and those are only going to be done in advance while they have the tickets available to do so. I wanted to bring all of this information about Pride to the body to see if we thought that it made sense for us to participate in a way that we have, or similar to a way that we have in the past. That was the vote anticipated asterisk that you saw there on item number 7. I did want to share that masks and facial coverings will be required to be worn at all times at any official St. Pete Pride Fest event. They have a whole policy, no mask, no entry policy, that you can read at stpetepride.org. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a
about Pride?
comment.
Yes.
My comment is that I think it's possible that by June, there will be no mask mandate in Florida, in Pinellas County.
This is a private event, and it's in coordination with the city. I can almost guarantee that there will be a mask mandate for the event.
Okay, but I still...
And they've announced as such.
Yeah, you know, given the way the scene as it is, I can see why that would be. But I think it's possible some major changes could happen. So I just wanted to say that. You know, that's my hope.
Sure.
That it goes away. Okay.
Jasmine.
So, okay, so they don't have like a limit or a number of people yet that they've announced, like how many people will be there?
They haven't announced the limits for any of the events, which makes it really hard for me to be able to tell how many people potentially we could be reaching out to. Again, by having all of this segmented across 4 Saturdays, it's certainly going to dilute the audience at any particular Saturday that we would be able to reach out to.
Is there a fee?
Yes.
For us to what's the fee?
If I read it correctly, and of course, this is all assuming that we have all of our nonprofit paperwork that we have been working to have filed and approved, it would be $169. If we do not have it approved, it would be $550.
Is that for a booth?
That would be for a 10 by 10 booth, yes.
Okay.
What's the deadline for registration?
They have not announced a deadline as far as I can tell. They just put the information up literally, I think it was the 8th or the 9th of last week.
Okay.
So I was still sifting. We were already well beyond this. We were already registered last March for the June event last year.
Okay.
At this point in time. So We're kind of behind the 8 ball when it comes to the schedule that they have decided for us. So yeah, good times. The good news is, according to the bylaws, we have the ability as officers to encumber $250 at a time. So we would not be required to have a business meeting approval for any expenditure. I wanted to get a sense from the body if we felt that this new segmented approach that they are offering with what looks to be a limited audience and spread out over the course of 4 weeks rather than one big weekend would be worth our time, treasure, and effort to participate.
Don't all speak at once. So Brett, am I right in thinking that we would also have the option of individuals simply attending? We have, quite a few members in St. Pete. So,
Yes.
If the first weekend so-and-so went, with a pocket full of business cards and something to write on.
I would rather that we followed the wishes of the organizers who are taking the time and taking the care to put on a quality event to follow their rules. They have noted that there are no unauthorized vendors, and that would be unauthorized vending.
I see. Okay, well, scratch that.
I have an idea if people would be okay with that, body wise. So what I'm thinking is we could probably try to do one weekend if we are approved nonprofit. That way we just spend the 169 for at one time this year for one booth. And then we just have to figure out which week would be the best week for us to participate in.
Okay. Well, I can tell you that the We Are Family event also coincides with the same weekend that the state convention is taking place. So I have a feeling that our volunteer base would be severely diminished.
It should be.
I like the idea of Pride Outside because I feel like that in a way that kind of seems a little bit libertarian title wise.
Okay. Well, if I'm being honest with regard to the administrative paperwork that Camilo and I have been working on, I do not anticipate it being complete to the satisfaction of the organizers by the time we would need to register, or even by the time of the event.
Okay. I thought Nate was about to say something.
I hate to be the Debbie Downer. I'm just trying to provide my view based on what I'm seeing happen, not only on our end, but also we're going to be at the mercy of the IRS when it comes to the nonprofit filing, and they aren't exactly the speediest bunch.
I'd like to think let's see where we're at on paperwork, but I don't want to pressure Brett into, we have lives outside of politics, and I definitely don't want to put any faith in the IRS.
Yeah. It might be a wash this year if that's the case, because I feel like 550 would be way too much with the amount of money that we actually have, which is not that much, along with the expenditures that we would, or the cost we would incur for all the materials that we would need based off of whatever we're trying to hand out.
I agree.
Yeah, especially when we're looking at a limited number of attendees, I tend to agree.
Although if by chance, if that paperwork does get put in and it's only $160, then you count me in.
All right. Well, right now the
No
log
pressure,
jam.
Brad. I'm not putting any pressure.
Oh no, this is honestly, I've been to Pride in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different cities. Done outreach at 3. it's one of the most fun outreach events that we can, or that we do participate in. The way that it's presented really does not make it something that I feel like we can even get the value that we would be paying for one weekend, because it's basically the same price as it was for the entire festival last year to
Yeah.
do one of these 4 weekends or one of these 4 Saturdays. So just, I wanted to make sure that you guys were on the same page before I shared what, kind of where I was, so as not to sway the discussion, but it does feel like this is pretty expensive for a lot of unknowns.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
And then
So
Brett,
it feels
Brett,
like, yes,
also, also, we don't have a booth. We'd have to add in the cost of purchasing a booth, which we need to
Well,
do.
right, we do, but we're also at a point where we don't have we don't have any in-person events to have a booth. And honestly, I don't know that we've had, outside of the candidate forum and Pride 2019, I don't know that there have been any in-person events other than business meetings.
No, we had a booth at the Oldsmar Flea Market, a year and a half ago or something.
Okay.
We also had a booth at St. Petersburg College. So we had one of our courtyard events, and when I brought it up to the committee, they actually set up a table. Well, they had their own tent, but we provided the table at the college, and then they set up and actually did an outreach there on campus. But obviously we're not doing that with COVID right now.
Sure.
I take it all of these, this new format is a one-shot deal that next year it will be back to the original.
I would hope so. I mean, having it segmented in this way is certainly better than canceling it outright, which is what they did last year. But the lack of a parade is certainly going to diminish the turnout for any one of these days. I mean, even if they coordinated the parade with one, I still think that it would be limited because you'd have a lot of social distancing concerns. And I think that it would be pretty difficult to have a parade route where all of the participants are in bubbles that are 6 feet from one another. So while I do appreciate the efforts, I don't know that it benefits us from an outreach perspective in the way that it's being presented. And I do hope that this is only a one-time deal and that 2022 will be kind of back to normal, because we should see that we're not going to have as much of an issue with regard to COVID going forward. Hopefully this is just a one-shot deal. Hopefully it's not something that they find is super successful. But I know that the lack of a parade will certainly diminish the attendance, which gives me hope that this would be a single shot event.
Yeah, I think that's, I would concur in not attending and spending the money. It just, what we get out of it isn't worth it.
Is it correct of me to say that the sense of the body is that we should not participate this year?
Yes.
Yes,
Fortunately, yeah.
correct.
Okay, that's kind of what I gathered, but I wanted to share all the information. Without Mr. Colina, we will skip number 8 and move right into announcements. Reaffiliation's complete. On May the 2nd at noon, we will have our first Liberty Yoga. It is virtual. It is a pay what you can. Just go to pinellasLP.org/donate.php or click the donate button at pinellasLP.org and you would be able to do that. Half goes to the party. The other half goes to our yogi who is providing the leadership of the practice.
Wait a second, Brett. You're not leading us in yoga?
Unfortunately, I don't think that anybody would want that. I'm not very good and certainly not as flexible as I once was. But I thought it better to have somebody who's actually led a practice before lead us in ours. So maybe a later time, but as of now, it will not be me.
Mhm.
But I do have the pants for it.
Yay.
Also on Saturday, May the 8th, we will have a coffee talk at 9 a.m. with Jess Mears. Some of you may recall, she formerly lived here in St. Pete and was a member of the affiliate here. She's going to be talking about career paths in the Liberty movement as well as in the Libertarian Party. She was the deputy campaign manager for Joe 2020. So she's got, and you know, there were several steps along the way that she also worked on the Johnson Weld campaign for the advanced team for both Gary Johnson and Bill Weld in 2016. So she's going to have a pretty good talk when it comes to what that's like and having a career in the party or the movement. And as Nate shared, we on June the 11th through the 13th, the LPF state convention at the Spring Hill Suites in Lakeland. That contract, I understand, has been approved by the state executive committee. So yeah, well, and it requires that you be a registered member of LPF and that you signed something 60 days prior saying that you identify as such. I know that Nate, Jasmine, myself, Marcia, for sure, meet those requirements. I'm not sure about anyone else's signing that they identify as LPF with the state party. You may have registered that way, but in order to be a delegate, you would have had to make that declaration to the state party.
Does that mean you can't plus
Where can I
one?
find those declarations?
I'm sorry.
Where can I find that declaration?
I believe it's at lpf.org is where I signed it. Let me pull that up and I can tell you. Hey, Nate, can you make me the host again so I can share screen?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. All right, and
So being a member is not enough. You have to actually sign some kind of loyalty pledge.
there's no loyalty pledge, but it is a declaration that you are intending to be a member of the party, I believe. It's here under get involved, I think. Maybe. Yep, join us. Oh, I lost it. So if you hover here over get involved, there's a drop down, join us. And that, yeah, right there. With that photo of Michael Cloud. All right, so join us, become an official member, completely free of charge. Clicking this box here, yes, I want to join the LPF. To become a member, you must be registered to vote. So the first step is to register to vote. The second is to say, it literally, it's just the declaration that you want to join LPF.
Okay.
So there's no poll tax or the like. There's no fee. As long as you are registered LPF and you say that you want to be a member of LPF, you are. I've never seen a bylaws amendment in all of my years, or a bylaw that requires membership in the way that this is required, that they've not been able to suspend the rules to seat other delegates. So I don't know that that's necessarily a barrier to entry, especially with the shortened runway for this year's state convention. So I don't know that that would necessarily be a problem, but I would go ahead and get on it if that's something that you intend to do. And even if you haven't done it yet, it would be good for next year and the year after and forever in perpetuity, so long as you're a registered LPF. And as Nate shared in the chat, we do have a bit.ly link shortened so that you can join the Slack. I certainly encourage everybody to do so. And that's the end of the announcements that I have. Are there any party specific announcements before we break into member comment? Hearing none, I will open the floor to any member who wishes to address the body.
Hey, this is Randall. I was
Randall?
curious, what kind of outreach programs are going on right now trying to recruit people?
Currently, we've been stuck in an administrative quagmire. Camilo and I have been working on quite a few things that have then uncovered other things that we need to work on, and then other things that we've had to work on. So the brilliant plan, I say brilliant because I don't know if it's actually any good, is the reach out that we talked about, where we segmented the county into 11, taking the LPF voter data and reaching out to them. We have not moved forward with any events to host in that regard. And so that's one of the things that was on the agenda. But Mr. Colino was not able to attend this evening to share that agenda item with us. But that had to do with in-person social. The idea is that we would reach out first by email and then to follow up with something in the mail to let them know that we are meeting in their area. It would be a specific in-person meeting in their area. And so that's our next phase, but it's not something, I imagine it'll be a lot easier once we see changes with regard to the state of emergency in the county. And so once they've changed those sorts of things, I believe we have a meeting upcoming about the mask mandate specifically for the Pinellas County Commission. That will make it a lot easier for groups larger than 6 to meet. We're trying to make it possible for us to meet in person. It is possible, but it's very difficult because there are a lot of places that cannot accommodate a group of our size that would also be a local business rather than a chain. I, for one, do not wish to go back to the back room at an Applebee's. I would prefer that we had something a little more localized, that we can support a local business with our meetings. And unfortunately, they are the ones that are the most harmed by what we're seeing from the county ordinances with regard to COVID.
Brett?
Hi, Marcia.
Hello. Yeah, in answer to Randall's thing, Randall, I don't think you and I have met yet, but I had a study party idea for people to invite people over in their living room and have a check sheet, or check sheets, plural, that they do to answer people's questions about what is libertarianism. And I started it just before the pandemic. But as soon as the restrictions go away, then I'm going to be putting that out there big time. In fact, I talked to Michelle McCutcheon. She's the membership person now at National. And she wants me to put something about it into her next newsletter. And then she suggested that I have a table at the convention in Reno in 22 about this, because from Joe Bishop Henchman on down, everyone who knows about it loves the idea. They say, well, let me know how it goes. I've had to put the kibosh on it meanwhile. So I think I'll check if it's okay with you guys to have a table maybe at our convention coming up in June, just to let people know what the idea is. What do you think? Brett?
You're here. Excellent.
I certainly like that idea.
Yeah, Brett, you think it's okay for me to see if I can get a table?
I'm not sure what the table situation is in Lakeland for the state convention this year. So I wouldn't even know where to begin to tell you.
Well,
I've had to seek out the information that I've found about the state convention.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I can do that. I can track it down. Oh, and another thing, by the way, this is not in relation to Randall's thing, but I don't know how many of the people here right now, on the 1st of January, our chair, state chair, Stephen Nikela, sent his vision for 2021. And it was a combination of a video of him talking with, it looked like sort of a PowerPoint text running alongside it. So even though I watched it then, you know, it's so easy to go in one ear and out the other. So finally, just last week, I got him to send me just the text, which I'm actually going to print out now that I bought some toner. So if anyone wants me to share that with you, I think it would behoove us all to have some idea of what his vision is, which is sort of like the vision for the state. Okay, so let me know.
Marcia, if you get that, go ahead and email it to me.
Yeah,
I'd like to see
okay.
it.
Yeah, same here.
Who said same here?
Late.
Someone said same. Oh, Lee. Okay. All right. Good.
All right. Are there any other members wishing to have the floor?
Have you,
Hearing none, I will entertain. I'm sorry, Lee.
have you heard anything about the what I want to what the voting thing that was part of his proposal for us to get on the what RCV?
Ranked choice voting, vote better, or
Yeah, he was talking about that's going to be a big thing for the Libertarian Party. I haven't seen much on it locally. I think I saw one message saying we could sign up with some group it sounds like it's not specifically Libertarian.
it is not. It is a voting alternative group. I believe it's Vote Better Florida. We shared something a while back on Facebook specifically about a meeting that they had that was taking place, but I have not seen anything from that group since.
Okay, I'm just curious if that's still a hot issue or whether that was.
I know that it is for them, and I know that the state party has signed on as a partner, but I don't know any of the details.
Okay.
Brett, I'd be interested in your opinion. I mean, so far, it seems like ranked choice voting is something we should get behind. Do you think it's better than what we have?
Well, there's not much that's worse than what we have. Approval voting is way better, but it's also easily gameable. Ranked choice voting is something that has some benefits. I'd like to see a little more of it in practice, like they have in Maine. They actually do have ranked choice voting for all of their elections in the state of Maine. It's certainly something that I've seen work a lot better than approval voting in practice. But my experience has been with approval voting is limited strictly in the Libertarian Party intra-party elections. And a lot of us are so enthralled with voting systems and figuring out how to game them so that we can figure out the best way to do it. Most of the people that I know just game it to make it no different than first past the post, which is what we have now. In fact, I would, if I had to rank voting systems, my first vote would go to ranked choice voting. My second choice in that vote would be for approval, and my third would be no change. So I gave my preference in my preference.
Thank you.
The reason I ask is that it seems to me I've read something that the Clearwater Chamber, not the chamber, the council is talking about that because of the number of candidates that ran for mayor. Is there concern that our laws would allow somebody, with 25% of the vote to be elected if there are 5 or 6 candidates?
Yep. That is one of the best things about ranked choice voting is that you actually have input without a runoff where you would have a majority opinion when it comes to the election.
When some elections don't even have, the person that gets the most votes wins. You have 6 candidates. That means somebody with a very small percentage can win. And that's.
You could win with 17% that way. If you had all 6 polling at about the same, you would need less than 1 in 5 votes to be elected because it is first past the post with no runoff.
Okay, it just seems to me they're talking about that right now.
I have a feeling that we would have to see change at the state level with regard to how votes are implemented. I don't think that the city would be able to implement something that's different from the rest of the state. Certainly wouldn't be able to do something that's different from the rest of the county. I haven't had the opportunity to speak with Julie Marcus or Wendy Grimes at the Supervisor of Elections office about it, but the next time that I do, I can certainly bring it up in the rumblings that we've been hearing from Clearwater.
Okay. Good.
All right. If there are no other members seeking to be recognized, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So,
So moved by Lee. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Ms. Herrera. All those in favor signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We are adjourned. We are here for, let me go ahead and